Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. So first up for T&D today, we have what I felt was a kind of appropriate mug for the topic today. My I Make the Rules Darth Vader mug. It felt like it kept in theme a little bit here. And inside of it, we have some of my Throat Comfort Yogi tea. Honestly, one of my favorite ones that I have. So that's really just why. I've been talking a lot, but I really do just like it too. So anyway, getting into what we're actually talking about today. We are talking today about some of my favorite battlefield control type spells. And I say control type because there's one in here that isn't actually a control spell, but it is one of the. It's the first one I'm going to talk about here. And I realized that I have this like super strong opinion about it in my mind, and I haven't really said anything about it on the internet anywhere, and people are always confused when I start talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it here because it kind of works in the same way. But this episode was inspired by a D&D session that I played recently. I am playing a Divine Soul Sorcerer. He is lovely. I adore him with every fiber of my being. And he has access to one of the spells on this list, and my DM didn't know what it did. And then 3 rounds later, he was very frustrated that his like big bad that would have just mauled us all hadn't been able to do anything yet. Honestly, I don't know if we would have survived at all if it hadn't happened in the way that it did. And I'll make sure I highlight that spell when we get to it. But first, we are going to start with the one that's weird, the one that isn't actually a control spell. Technically, it's a buff spell, but I'll talk about why I have it in the control pile a little bit here and why I have such strong opinions about it. That is going to be Aid. I should mention, all of these are very low level. These are first and second level spells. I specifically chose these because I want you to be able to use them at pretty much any tier of play. So the first one is Aid, as I mentioned. Again, not a control spell by any stretch, not even a little bit. The way that this one works is that you target 3 creatures within 30 feet of you. Their current hit points and their hit point maximum go up by 5. This is really, really great. It lasts for 8 hours without concentration. This is a great buff. It's one of my favorite spells to upcast as well, because stacking 5 hit points is actually really, really good as you go up. If you use a 3rd level spell to cast it, and you are a 3rd or 5th level, like, I don't know, sorcerer, having an extra 10 hit points is a lot of hit points for you. That's another full hit that you can take and not just die immediately. So I love upcasting Aid. But here is why I have it in this kind of pile. So the thing about it is, first off, it does get around the chill touch problem, which a lot of people run into, where if you get hit with a chill touch, you can't regain hit points for the round, or I don't remember the exact duration of it, but you can't regain hit points for the round. You're not regaining hit points in this, you are just gaining hit points. You just get hit points, you don't regain them because you didn't have them to begin with. So it's a workaround for that. It's a very minimalistic workaround, obviously, but it is a workaround for it. But more importantly, I think it is, in my opinion, better than Healing Word for being the quote-unquote paddles of D&D. If you know what I'm talking about there, then this next part is going to be very obvious to you. If you don't, the paddles in D&D are associated with Healing Word. Revivify if you're more in my camp, where like I think paddles like bring someone back to life, but paddles being that they get somebody back up. Everybody says that it's Healing Word because people think that healing is stupid in D&D and there's no reason to do it, and you only need 1 hit point to get up, so a 1st level Healing Word at a range of 60 feet is better for mid-battle than a 1st level Cure Wounds is at a range of touch when you are in the thick of it and you are like getting borne down on by a bad guy. You just need to get the person back to having positive hit points in order for that to work. The thing about Aid is it targets 3 creatures within 30 feet of you. So yes, the range is halved, but if you have 3 party members that go down, you can cast Aid and they all pop up with 5 hit points instantly. And their hit point max goes up by 5 as well, which like doesn't really matter because they were at 0, but they have 5 hit points now. So it's a really good way to turn around like half of your team and get them back on their feet. Because odds are decent that whoever the big bad is isn't going to be able to actively murder all 3 of your friends at the same time immediately. So you're a lot more likely to get an actual turn. And if your DM is playing an intelligent enemy, they are going to like try to keep people down and start attacking the people that are down. So if you can bring up 3 of them and like have fire focused over somewhere else, then the other 2 people are going to get their turn back, which is extremely good, because maybe somebody else in your party has healing. Maybe somebody else in your party is going to be able to turn around and take fire or something like that. It's just it can flip the entire tide of a battle if you suddenly bring 3 allies back into the fight, even if it would only take 1 hit to put them back down. Which is why I have it in this like control type thing, because it is something that really affects the tide of the way that a fight is going. Next up is the spell that my DM didn't know about, and he does know now. And I messaged him the day after the session, and I was like, hey man, I will change the spell out if you want me to. Like I don't want to be ruining your fun because I have this spell on my list. I'd much rather change it out and have everybody like have a good time. And he said, nope, no worries. It's all good. I just need to prepare for that in the future. And that is Tasha's Mind Whip. If you don't know what Mind Whip does, look it up, because it's so good. First off, when you are a low-level adventuring party, as we are level 4, you are likely going to run into brutish creatures as opposed to super intelligent spellcaster types, which means that a low-level spell that requires an intelligence saving throw is going to be something that hits and affects them the vast majority of the time. The other thing is, this deals psychic damage, which means that it's pretty much not going to be resisted by anything that is super low level in this area, because psychic damage is not a damage type that you run into at lower levels. In addition to that, if they fail their saving throw and they take that damage and everything, it's 3d6 damage, by the way, if I forgot to say that, which is a good amount given the effect that is about to come. If they fail their saving throw, they cannot take reactions until the end of their next turn. They can only, on their next turn, move, take an action, or a bonus action. One of those 3 things. So they're sort of locked in. And that was the thing that really sort of screwed him over, because we were fighting this thing, and the way the initiative order worked out, my entire party was clumped together, and then he and his henchmen went last, which was helpful because I was second in the order with only the rogue above me. So I cast it on him while he was asleep in bed, or after he had just woken up but was laying down in bed because he had not had time to get up. So on his first turn, he stood up, and that was the end of what he could do. On his next turn, everybody had run away from him because it's free disengages all around because he can't take reactions. So he moved again, and that was the only thing that he could do. Or no, he went into a rage. That was the only thing that he could do. And then the third time, he moved again because everybody had moved, and that was the only thing he could do. And at that point, I burned sorcery points to get a second level spell back and blah, blah, blah. But I held on to that spell because I was like, I don't know if it might be something that I need to get myself out of a bad situation with, because I have Misty Step stocked as well, so I might need to bamf away. That was a poor choice because I promptly got knocked down to 2 hit points and then used it to take him out with Mind Whip again, and then I got knocked unconscious by his falling body. So, lessons learned. But it is one of, if not the best, low-level control spells against a single enemy in the game, I think. Plus, if you're a sorcerer, you can twin spell it and have it affect 2 people at the same time, which is really, really awesome. I love it a lot. After Mind Whip is one that a lot of DMs actually started banning from their table before they even saw it really in play in games. And that is Silvery Barbs. Silvery Barbs is a reaction that you can take when you see a creature within, I want to say it's 60 feet of you. Mind Whip has a range of 90 feet, by the way. I don't think I said that. It's a reaction you take when when a creature within, I want to say it's 60 feet, I might be wrong on that, succeeds on an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check. You use this reaction, it's first level spell, and they have to re-roll using the lower of the 2 rolls. And you get the option to give a creature within the same range advantage on their next ability check, saving throw, or attack roll. So you get to impose disadvantage on someone and give someone else advantage for the cost of a first level spell on a reaction for one of the most common things that happens in a game, which is just succeeding on any roll, pretty much. So that's ridiculous. A phenomenal spell for sure. What's really great about it is a way to neutralize a natural 20 without having to like use it ahead of time and kind of guess. Like they can be like, that's a natural 20. You can be like, hey, Silvery Barbs, and then they have to re-roll and use whatever the lower roll is, and that could be anything. Obviously, it could be another natural 20, but that's crazy to get 2 in a row. Like that's much less likely than them getting like anything below 10 instead. So that spell has been banned by a lot of people from their tables immediately as soon as it was published. And for good reason. I do think it should be a higher level spell based on the effect. I would add a little something, just like a smidge of something, and make it like a second level spell or something instead. But it's a very good spell. Also stocked on that same sorcerer spell list. Next up, we have Earthbind. And you might be thinking, that's a pretty normal spell to have on this list compared to the other 3 that you've picked so far. And you would be right. However, Earthbind is something that will really ruin your DM's day if you use it right at a low level. Because Earthbind has a range of 300 feet and allows you to target a flying creature and bring them to the earth. And so a lot of times, if you encounter a flying creature at low levels, kind of the point is for them to be really difficult for you to get to. They are usually very fragile as well. So if you go, oh hey, that thing in the air, down, and they plummet to the earth, where they can just get stomped on by your barbarian, that's going to ruin a lot of the DM's plans there. It is a second level spell, so you only have a few of those early on, but at the same time, it is not a spell that you're going to be using on like an ancient dragon when you run into it necessarily. Like you could, and they could fail their save and stuff like that if you've burned all their resistances already, or that's a good way to burn a resistance if they fail that saving throw, because the last thing a dragon wants is to get dropped in the middle of a party. But like harpies, or I don't know, Aarakocra if you're fighting Aarakocra, or like giant eagles or something like that, they're going to get absolutely destroyed if they are dropped to the ground early on, because they simply don't have the armor class or the hit points. They have the like stay high in the air and far away kind of thing and swoop in and take people out that way. So Earthbind is a really great way to like quite literally level the playing field, because it takes them out of that third dimension there. And in a similar sort of way, except the opposite, the next spell on this list is Levitate. And you might be thinking again, why would you have Levitate on this list? Because if you have a monster, again, or if your DM has a monster coming at you, and you go, Levitate, and they get shot up 20 feet in the air and they can't move, they're just stuck there as long as you sit there concentrating on that, what are they going to do? Like, honestly, what are they going to do? They're stuck in the air. They can't do anything to you. They're just floating there. They can't move themselves. They can't do anything. You can make them go up and down if you want to, but it's a really good way to go, no. And just shoot them up in the air and they stay there until you're ready to deal with them, and then you can drop them 20 feet. Have them take 2d6 of bludgeoning damage from the fall, and then maybe fall prone and have everybody have advantage on attacks around them immediately as soon as you are ready to deal with them. It's really great. It's kind of like Banishment, which is maybe my favorite, definitely top 5 favorite battlefield control spells, but that's level 4, and we are staying in level 1 and 2. So Levitate has a similar effect in that it will take somebody out of a fight almost entirely, because they can't move or do anything else. So if they don't have a ranged weapon, then they're just sort of stuck. Sorry. And you can just keep the elevator going up as much as you want, really. And so I really like that one. And then finally, the end of my list here, I kept it kind of short, but also I've talked relatively lengthily about each of these spells, is Vortex Warp, another very new one. However, very fun to play with. Vortex Warp, if you are unsure of what it is, you target a creature, I believe it's within 90 feet of you, and you force them essentially to teleport onto a surface, so you can't just go like straight up in the air or off a cliff or something like that. You teleport them onto a surface within range, like still somewhere within range. And that's fun because most creatures at low level have the same speed as your adventurers. They have a 30-foot running speed or something like that. So if you go, I really don't want to deal with you right now, goodbye, and you throw somebody like 90 feet away from you, they have to spend a round and a half running all the way back to you, assuming they dash on their one action. So it's a really good way to get yourself out of there. Also, it lets you move your party members around because they can choose to fail the saving throw. And so you can be like, nope, I'm going to take you and I'm going to put you over here and you're going to go there. And then you're going to go over here and you get put down right there. It's really fun. It's a really, really fun one to be able to just like remold the battlefield how you want to by changing the placement of the people on it. And I know that 3 of these in Mind Whip, Silvery Barbs, and Vortex Warp are pretty new spells. Like they came out, I believe all of them came out within the last year. And so there hasn't been as much time to like mess around with them, which is why they might be a little bit less well known. And I'm hoping that the other 3 that I mentioned gave you a little bit of something to think about because I really, really like them and I try and stock them whenever I can. Assuming it doesn't break theme for character and it doesn't make it so that I can't take something that is going to be more useful for me at the time. But I pretty much always play like control type characters whenever I get to play as a player because I'm a DM. I like to be able to control the things that are going on the field. So those are 6 of my absolute favorite low level battlefield control spells. I hope that you found something here today that you will add to your spell list because honestly, that's kind of the point. Let me know what your favorite ones are because I want to know. I love hearing about these things. But let's move on to what shows we have coming out today. First up today, it's Tuesday, so we have a medium-sized list. First up, we have Diary of a Dragon Pit. We have Star Wars First Resistance using SW5E rules. Dungeons and Daddies, Bombarded, Hekva D&D, Glass Cannon, and the Queer Casters. So go check any of those people out. Please let them know that I sent you. Again, someday somebody's going to be like, hey, somebody said that you sent them. Thanks for that. And I'll be like, hey, there you go. And that's going to be the end of that conversation. I don't know. It'll be fun sometime. Or at least I'll find it amusing, which is really what the goal is here. So, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron, please go take a look at the link in the description of this episode. I really do appreciate it. And if you are one of my patrons, I don't know what's going on right now. My Patreon is being really weird. It won't let me upload the video version of this last weekend Sunday brunch. But the show poll, or not the show poll, the show suggestion box is up right now. Go send in suggestions if you have any for what you want to see an episode of this be. Because I want you guys to see the content that you actually want to see. But yes, there we go. That's all of it, I think. So, with all that said, don't forget, guys, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.